So I'm back with Devin Jopp, who's incoming CEO of the Workgroup for Electronic Data Interchange, or WEDI. And today we're going to talk about leadership. Devin Jopp happens to be, Dr. Devin Jopp is an expert on leadership. So Devin, you say that there are two types of leadership. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, there's actually transactional and transformational leadership in organizations. Transactional is really the kind when you hear about CEOs or typically associated with CEOs, which is really this idea of inspiring and leading, getting vision and really galvanizing troops to move to a goal. Transactional is what you hear oftentimes in terms of your managers or your line staff, which is really trying to focus on what is my next task, what are my milestones, my deadlines, how do I motivate or punish. A lot of times it's oftentimes, how do I use a performance review as a way to motivate or not motivate somebody, much more traditional ways of what we think is management.
So transformational versus transactional. Now, do leaders tend to fall in one camp or the other?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it really comes back to probably the lower level you are, and as you work your way up in your organization, what you see is that your job moves from concrete to much more abstract. And so typically your leadership style tracks with that. So actually you might start off really transactional, which is focused on I've got these projects, these deadlines, and then ultimately you start moving through to transformational leadership. Interestingly enough also, when you are lower in an organization, you're much more reliant on your technical knowledge or what you're seen as a technical expert on something. People seek you out and they respect you because of your authority on a certain subject matter. Versus when you get higher in an organization, they're much more trying to be inspired. You're trying to inspire them and trying to move them and get them passionately associated to your cause or your mission in order to drive them to higher performance.
So my CEO coach is fond of saying, what got you here won't get you there. So does that happen sometimes to technical people who get promoted? They've had to rely on their transactional leadership skills, and now they need transformational leadership skills to lead the teams. But how do they develop those skills? And do they even realize it?
Yeah, huge questions. And interestingly enough, a lot of times to build on that, they actually say that people never stop working in their old job. And so what happens is when you promote somebody that might be a manager to, say, a VP position, a lot of times they'll fall back on transactional tendencies, and we call that micromanagement, or it comes across looking as micromanagement, because oftentimes they're never stopping their neural role, versus really unlearning their transactional role and falling more back on their transformational side, which is people are going to do things not because you're forcing them to or you have a hammer over them, but because they actually are inspired to do it because they believe in you, you believe in them, you're doing capacity building, you're inspiring them at a different level than you were when you were a manager. And so that's really, I think it's the whole idea of unlearning and learning new techniques and tools for management leadership as you go further up an organization.
So what are 3 things I can do to develop my transformational leadership skills?
I think a lot of it is, I'd like to say one of them is inventory what you think your management style is. And a lot of times it's actually trying to figure out what is my management style, maybe even asking people that you trust or what is my feedback on how I do. Some people call these management 360 tools, or I don't know that you need to go to that level, but certainly inventorying where you are is the starting point. I think the next one is really trying to work on figuring out how are you coming across and what are you paying attention to in your management style. And so if you find yourself grilling people on tasks, for example, that may not be the right approach. It might have worked for you back then, but not now. So a lot of it is, trying to become much more self-aware around what motivates people and how do you tap into that, rather than before you're probably more worried about deadlines and orientation. The third is really trying to probably get a coach. And as you go up in organizations, I've found great success with leadership coaching, where really they provide that external feedback that it's often really hard to find, particularly as you become a CEO in a company. Hard to find somebody in an organization that you can really trust and intimately give details like that.
Well, Devin, thank you so much.
Thanks for watching the Matrix Minute. Don't forget to connect with us on our blog and social media. For more information, go to matrixgroup.net.